Well, what even is there to say? I guess there's a lot to say. America, we're not mad.
I'm a little mad.
But we're very disappointed. Also pretty mad too, though.
Yeah.
Although the knee-jerk response of being mad at the American electorate kind of distracts from the fact that who you should really be mad at is Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the Democratic Party machine that's been on autopilot since at least 2016 and seems utterly incapable of learning a single lesson from its failures other than the obviously incorrect lesson that I guess we gotta just move more to the right.
Yeah.
Donald Trump will be our next president. Again. And in terms of electoral votes, it wasn't even close.
Nope.
We're used to presidential elections being super close and not really knowing the final results on the night of, but by midnight our time, it was over. It was Jover. And we just had to go to bed and sleep with the knowledge that shit is about to get so much worse and so much dumber.
And I
by
didn't get
sleep,
a lot of sleep.
I mean, not really sleep.
No, just kind of glued to the TV in a sad, sad way, dealing with. Yeah, I think the word that I liked that a lot of people were using was just like, I can't believe I was so naive to think that good things could happen, or that this was some kind of, I guess I had a lot more faith in the American people than I owed. But this is what people want. And that's the popular vote too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
What's especially crazy is that in addition to Harris losing in literally every single swing state, Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Wisconsin, Trump actually won this one with a smaller popular vote count than he got in 2020. When he lost, of course, which is crazy. 16 million fewer people voted in this one. So clearly, turnout was a huge contributor here. And in typical Democratic Party fashion, in the forthcoming days, weeks, months, and years, we will absolutely never hear the end of it in terms of excuses. Excuses like blaming college students, millennials, Gen Z, Muslims, Latinos, Jill Stein voters, Bernie bros, and so on. Yeah, that's gonna suck. You know who really sucks? Gen X. They really fucked this one up real bad.
Yeah, I'm happy blaming them for just about anything.
Nobody talks about Gen X.
Yeah,
and it's all their fault.
They can't keep getting away with it.
But sorry, when you're the ones running for president, it is your fucking job to earn those people's votes. And at every possible opportunity, this party, this administration, and this campaign have avoided doing that and instead attempted to court the votes of conservatives by getting tough on crime and immigration and continuing to give Israel whatever the fuck it wants. This, of course, does not work. Conservatives already have a party that does a much better job at appealing to them. And at this point, it's probably fair to say that nearly every single never Trump Republican is a media pundit, and out here in real life, these people barely actually exist, which is what we've been saying for a while. They're going to, when push comes to shove and they're in the ballot box, they can be like, oh, that Trump, he's got a nasty mouth. I certainly don't like all the crimes he committed, but when you're looking at the R versus the D and the propaganda that has worked on you, it's going to be an easy choice.
And it's difficult to say at this point how much of an effect it had on turnout, but the situation in Gaza, where the Biden administration has been actively and unconditionally funding and supporting a genocide, while demonizing Americans who are against it as rabid anti-Semites.
Just holding protests and, just rightfully fucking pissed about it.
Yeah, that had to have played at least some role here. Well, we may never know exactly how much, but I mean, in the case of Michigan, where over 200,000 Muslims live, Trump won by just 80,000 votes. And this time, you can't even blame Jill Stein, who only picked up 44,000 votes. Sorry, this one's on you. So Muslims in Michigan either did not vote or they voted for Trump. And yeah, you can certainly make the case that that was foolish on their part. But when you do absolutely nothing to court their votes, you have nobody to blame but yourself. Of course, Michigan alone would not have changed anything. But the fact that left-leaning college students across the country, who the Democrats need to not only win, but also for volunteering staff during campaigns, were villainized and brutally, violently attacked by police with the full-throated support of their Democrat elected officials. That probably didn't help either.
Yeah, in terms of who's the most to blame for this abject failure, we got to place the blame firmly on Joe Biden. I mean, it feels ridiculous to say this, but aside from being an active participant in the worst humanitarian crisis of the 21st century, he was a fairly decent president. The Inflation Reduction Act, the infrastructure bill, and the American Rescue Plan were all decent pieces of legislation. And pulling out of Afghanistan was the right thing to do. But none of that fucking matters when you are utterly incapable of communicating those successes to the electorate. Trump never, ever shuts the fuck up about his accomplishments, real or imagined. But unless you follow politics closely, you'd likely have no idea what Biden has accomplished as president. And meanwhile, inflation has been really bad. Not historically bad, and not as bad as other countries post-COVID, but still bad enough that when you hear Democrats claim that actually the economy is doing great because the stock market and job growth are up, you're probably not going to like that.
Yeah, it's not a very appealing message when you are out there clearly spending way more money on things that used to cost less while making the same amount of money.
Mm-hmm.
It's not an appealing message. Actually, you're wrong. The economy is good. Not good for you, but good for, the rest of us up here.
That's the problem, is relative to other nations. Yeah, our exit path from the pandemic was a bit smoother, but that doesn't matter when your average voter is legitimately pissed at their grocery bill.
Yeah.
Or their rising healthcare costs.
Rising everything costs. Now, Democrats, at the very least, usually are pretty good at acknowledging problems, even if they don't actually solve them. But in this case, they were on a completely different planet than most voters when it came to the economy. And yeah, the idea that the president can magically make gasoline and eggs cost less money is stupid. But that's how most voters think.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of got to meet them where they are.
You, just for the love of God, take a look at the Google search trends of, did Joe Biden drop out? Which were rising incredibly high at the end of October. People just, all right, I guess we got an election coming up next week. I should do a little research.
People aren't paying attention, and why would they? They're busy. They have
they're
lives.
Doing
they
jobs,
have families.
Yes, they're very
They're
busy
not
people.
thinking about politics. They're not thinking about Finland joining NATO. They're thinking about how much it costs to put gas in their car and how much it costs to feed their family.
Yes.
And if you're not going to fucking address that shit, that's not going to appeal to them. I'm sorry.
We can sit here and show how bad Trump is all day long, but if the Democratic Party can't go out there and make the case for themselves, it's just next to impossible to win.
If your big pitch is Trump is a fascist, I have bad news for you. Most people don't even know what that means.
And apparently they want to vote for it. They love the pitch.
Yeah.
Without knowing how
I don't
how
know
to
what
define
fascism is, but whatever I like what he's saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, Trump's plan to deal with inflation by escalating the trade war with China almost certainly will not work and probably make things even worse. But hey, it's a plan. He's pitching a plan. He's saying, I'm going to do something about it. Even if it's stupid.
And it won't work.
Even if no economist thinks it's a good idea, it's a plan.
If it will inevitably raise prices, and his day one mass deportation stuff that he's going to do will also raise prices.
Wait, immigrants make my food?
It's, look, it's going to be a stark reality that we're going to have to live through.
Anyway, you might be wondering why we're talking so much about Biden when Kamala Harris was the nominee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is just our opinion here, but we think you can trace this election's results back to multiple hinge points over the past 4 years where if things had gone differently, Trump could have lost.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe definitely would have lost. And the most recent one was, of course, when Biden stepped down and was replaced by Kamala Harris.
Yeah, there was an opportunity there to turn over a new page and distance the new candidate from the old one. And in the initial days and the initial weeks, there was definitely a sense that that was happening. We were thrilled. At that point, look, I would have appreciated if Biden would have made this decision months before that, so that there could have been, his original intention, though, whatever, was that he was going to be a single term and that we could get into a primary. But that didn't happen.
No.
So when he finally did step aside, which if you watched the stream last night, we showed video of what, even looking back now, he was the wrong choice. He was the wrong candidate.
He was melting in front of our very eyes.
It would have not gone better if Joe Biden
No man has been as 81 years old as Joe Biden is 81 years old.
But so we had that.
There was an opportunity. Anything was possible. Change is in the air.
Yes, you could take the successes of the Biden administration and then pivot on the failures and have a pretty good campaign right there.
Yeah.
But then Kamala Harris repeatedly affirmed that she would just do absolutely nothing different than the current administration and would essentially just be Joe Biden, but able to form complete sentences. But clearly Joe Biden seeming old as fuck was not the only thing voters had against him. Biden's approval ratings were below 50% for the past 3 years. hitching your wagon to a dying horse and essentially campaigning as a surrogate for the current administration was very dumb. And every advisor, consultant, and party official who encouraged this should be banned from ever participating in another campaign. But that won't happen. They're going to keep doing the same jobs. They're going to say the Hillary strategy, it's going to work one of these times. God damn it!
Someday you'll all be sorry.
Then these people have very good job security in coming back and saying this time we're going to do it exactly the same. But this time it's going to be different.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's basically essentially been the same group of people running these things since Hillary in 2016, and they are incapable, it seems, of learning from their mistakes.
Yep. Another potential hinge point from this past summer is Biden waiting an entire month to drop out of the race, which wasted precious time at a crucial moment. Could that extra time have allowed some sort of process to select a new nominee instead of just passing the torch to the VP with 3 months left on the clock? Maybe. It would have been very chaotic, probably. It's hard to say whether any other nominee would have done better than Kamala if they, too, failed to distance themselves from the Biden administration. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm convinced that the Democratic Party would have put in someone that was just dead on aligned with Biden. And just like, look, the voters don't know it, but everything's great. Mm-hmm. So just keep campaigning on the successes of Biden.
Yeah. But yeah, one hinge point where this could have all been avoided would have been Joe Biden at some point early in his administration, maybe even before taking office, clarifying that he would only be serving one term. I mean, Biden himself even alluded to this before during the 2020 election, and a lot of people definitely cast their vote for him, thinking he couldn't possibly try to seek a second term in 4 years. He did clarify that I guess he misspoke when he said that.
Well, he's always doing that.
But he also described himself as a transitional president, which I don't know. A lot of people, I know this for a fact, a lot of people voted for Joe Biden being like, yeah, he's only going to be there for 4 years. Because that would be crazy if he ran again when he was 81.
I mean, this election was an attempt at voting against Trump. That one was absolutely a vote against Trump.
Yeah. He didn't really win on personal merits. Trump just did a fucking awful job with COVID to the point where people were like, maybe this guy isn't good at being president. But they, of course, forgot that over the next 4 years. But yeah, if the Democrats had an actual 2024 primary, they would have had a much better idea of how to move forward. And it would have been much easier to pitch their 2024 ticket as the vanguard of a new era following old Joe Biden's transitional administration, which a transition implies you're going from point A to point B. This would have been point B. I think that's a much better sell than, no, we're just going to stay between the 2 points.
Would have been a very blunt look at the wants and needs of the voters when deciding who should be the nominee.
You would have gotten a much better idea of what you need to do, who you need to appeal to win. But we didn't get that. The shit was on fucking autopilot for the last 4 years, and only at the last minute were they like, shit, I think we might actually lose this thing.
As we saw in a bunch of races, some progressive stuff won, while at the same time, Trump winning those areas.
Yeah, there were people who voted for Democratic senators and Congress people.
And policy, abortion.
Either voted for Trump or just didn't vote for president.
Yeah.
So the policies of the party seem to be just as popular as ever. It's just the guy, Joe Biden, not popular at all.
Yeah.
A guy you'd probably want to distance yourself from as much as possible if you are trying to get the votes of people who are casting their ballot. But, well, I guess not.
We do have something to learn a little bit from Gavin Newsom, who was like, I don't want any of this shit. Bye-bye.
Yeah, I mean,
I think he might run in 2028.
That was a smart move on his part. And yeah, I mean, there is one lesson here is you can't have Californians running for office. It just doesn't work. You can't, anyone involved in California politics, like the way the rest of the country sees this state, I call it California derangement syndrome, where like they have, the image they have of like what shit is like here is so like cartoonishly crazy that like, I mean, doesn't matter if it's all bullshit. You're just not going to get elected to office, national office as a Democrat.
It happens every time. Every time a family member visits and they don't see that the entire city is on fire and covered with homeless people on every corner and violence happening 2 feet out of your doorstep, it is shocking to them.
Yeah.
Wow, this place is actually pretty nice.
They must have just swept it all up.
And the food, amazing.
Yeah. Wow.
But look, okay, this next part might seem like a reach. But you could also make the argument that the hinge point that led us to this moment was the 2020 Democratic primary, when the party coalesced around Joe Biden in what was a very obvious effort to nip the whole Bernie Sanders movement in the bud. To their credit, they did at least seem aware that they needed to try to appeal to Bernie voters to ensure turnout in the general election, and Joe Biden's pro-union stances definitely helped. But this moment was very illustrative of one of the Democratic Party's biggest problems in the modern era. They are very reliant on the support of big money donors and the politics of Bernie Sanders, which appeared to be quite popular among Democratic primary voters, including voting blocs that went heavy for Trump in this election, and particularly younger voters, are totally counter to the interests of people who fund the Democratic Party. In the era of Citizens United, you need those big money donors, and you need to keep them happy with policies they support. So I guess we're just fucked.
Yeah, what can you do? Except Bernie proved that actually you can run a massive national campaign solely off of small individual donations. It was crazy. I wouldn't have guessed that it was possible, but he fucking did it. But it only works if what you're pitching appeals to average voters. They're not going to give you money if they don't like what you're selling.
Yeah.
Corporate greed is really at the root of a lot of the inflation we've seen over the past few years. And a president who is not beholden to those corporate interests could have, I don't know, maybe done more to deal with it, or at the very least addressed it in a way that acknowledged the concerns of working class Americans. Like we said, bit of a stretch, but Bernie ran on fundamental change and activated a ton of infrequent voters. And Biden ran on not being Trump, but otherwise maintaining the status quo. And 4 years later, the status quo has never been less popular.
Yeah.
If this party wants to win again, they need to actually offer something to voters, particularly working class voters, but really anyone who wants to own a home, raise a family, send their kids to college, and someday retire without blowing all of their savings on medical debt. Without any of that on the table, a lot of people they're happy to settle for someone who isn't going to fix any of their problems, but will at least point at someone else to blame for it and will punish them.
Yeah.
I'll take it. Listen, if I'm not getting anything, I'll at least take this reactionary knee-jerk fascism, because it does make me feel good for a little bit.
So will the Democratic Party learn? By most indications, no, absolutely not. We've been through this. The blame game is in full swing, and there's even reports that within the party, a ton of people think that if Joe Biden had stayed in, he would have won.
Shut the fuck up.
That is so fucking delusional that it is giving us headaches. Go back and watch the debate. It is, you can't. It's excruciating.
No
he was
fucking
not,
shot.
There's absolutely no way. And everyone still, we mentioned it yesterday. You're thinking, wow, yeah, this guy could probably survive and be coherent until the election, but you have to serve for 4 more years. And as you said, he's the most 81 that anyone's ever been.
Yeah. There's also, of course, Russia. They're saying that Tenet Media swung the votes of tens of millions of people. I don't think so. They're saying this is all Jeff Bezos' fault because if he hadn't pulled the Washington Post endorsement, things would have all gone differently.
There's way too many things that contributed to this.
It's the same fucking playbook as 2016, but the arguments are even more flimsy.
Yeah. Anyways, talking heads, they're openly, unironically suggesting that the key takeaway here is that the Democrats need to move further to the right.
Oh yeah, we've never tried that one. That's a new idea that we should definitely try.
The fact that Trump is going to be president again for 4 years with J.D. Vance waiting in the wings in case Trump chokes on a McNugget, that is depressing enough. But the fact that the Democratic Party is so absurdly out of touch with reality and utterly incapable of rising to the occasion is very bleak. Doesn't inspire a lot of hope.
No.
And look, we can hear you. You're typing something about how we need a third party in this country, and sure, that would be great. Right now, it's not really mathematically possible in a political system like ours with winner-takes-all plurality voting.
Yeah, ranked choice could help us get there, but that's not really on the table.
As we've seen, progress probably not going to happen anytime soon. There's a reason we haven't seen the rise of a new ruling party in this country since the eve of the Civil War. It's a two-party system, and changing the parties from within is the only way. Republicans have changed. If you look at the Republican Party 10, 15 years ago,
they're nimble. They go where the voters take them.
Republicans, they've embraced this new Trumpism, and for whatever reason, it's working. Again, it's just the common enemy.
Yeah.
And the promise of riches, and I guess the promise of punishing their enemies.
Yeah. I mean, in the absence of progress, fascism is pretty appealing.
And the sad part is that Democrats haven't met voters where they are.
They haven't changed at all.
No.
This is 2016 all over again. It's baffling.
Yeah.
and it doesn't seem like they're learning shit. I hope at least some of them take a long look in the mirror and take some fucking accountability for this. But I'm not optimistic about it.
You think we'll get age limits in a Trump administration? Because, I mean, he's very old, so he wouldn't do it to himself, but maybe other people.
I mean...
Age limits for the Democrats. No, for the Republicans. Age limits for some, dying in office for others. It's the American way.
Anyways, what happens next? Well, for starters, some Republicans have already clarified that when they were saying that they'd never heard of Project 2025 and it totally wasn't the agenda for a second Trump term, they were actually lying. You got us. Just to be clear, it was the agenda. We pretended it wasn't because it's not a very appealing agenda.
One of my biggest pain points throughout the last 6 months of the election was Trump's insistence that he had no idea what anyone was talking about. And to the point where every time I brought it up on the show, I'm like, I know everyone's getting tired of it, but Project 2025 is a real thing that they're going to do.
Yeah, we'll know in just a couple months when he starts staffing the White House and you see how many fucking Heritage Foundation goons are in there, because there's not a lot of candidates to choose from. Not a lot of people left who have the experience and skills to work for Trump, except the ones at the Heritage Foundation.
And we'll also see who comes crawling back. Oh, Mr. Trump, I'm so sorry.
So, that combined with everything that Trump has been saying at his rallies for the past year tells us that things are definitely going to get more fashy around here, especially with Republicans now controlling not just the White House, but the Senate and potentially also the House, which is still being counted, but I'm not feeling too optimistic about it.
Well, it would be nice if they didn't control both chambers, but...
Would be nice. The Trump agenda could very likely have a rubber stamp for at least the next 2 years. And that means what's potentially on the table includes mass deportations, the end of birthright citizenship, severe immigration restrictions, increased abortion restrictions, more expensive goods thanks to tariffs, reduced diversity and civil rights protections for the LGBT, a severely weakened administrative state, the end of the Affordable Care Act, the end of any efforts to combat climate change, a rollback of labor rights and union protections, a significantly more hawkish and confrontational foreign policy, reduced support for Ukraine, increased support for Israel, and perhaps most depressing of all, 2 new young, ultra-conservative Supreme Court justices to replace Thomas and Alito, and potentially, who knows, 1 fewer liberal on the court, depending on how Justice Sotomayor's health fares over the next 4 years. So, in summation, shit is fucked.
Yeah.
And we don't really have any words of comfort for you there. I'm sorry. I got nothing.
It's been a bummer of a day. The only thing I can say is we'll be here for you. You know, you're not alone out there. Everyone's feeling this way. It has been repeated over and over today. It's time to start thinking a little bit smaller and really embrace your communities. Because first of all, just on a base level, like getting to know your neighbors and friends and families around you is going to help you connect and see different parts of the country that maybe you weren't even aware of, or someone that could be victim to one of these policy changes. And that might change your tune on how you view it. Because I feel like a lot of people, specifically young men, are very fucking siloed off and exist only in these online echo chambers. So maybe getting out there and meeting some fucking people would change your viewpoints and how all of these policies can actually affect people that you might actually like or love. Anyways, we almost forgot to mention Trump winning also means Elon Musk.
God damn it.
He's going to take a very active role in the U.S. government. He was by Trump's side on election night.
Holding hands.
The worst person you know just had a very, very good night, unfortunately. But before we get to that, we need to pause with the news for a second because it's time to take a very awkward ad break. Sorry, just take this moment to take a deep breath and kind of relax a little bit. Now it's time to let you know that this episode is sponsored by Factor. Notice how the days are shorter, but your to-do lists aren't, and everyone's getting a little bit sadder? Power through your busy days with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. From breakfast to dinner and anything in between, Factor has easy, nutritious options to keep you fueled and feeling your best. Whether you like routine or you enjoy mixing things up, Factor has you covered with 35 different delicious meals every week and over 60 additional convenience options that you can add to your box, like keto cookies, pressed juices, and smoothies. Don't let shorter days slow you down. Stay energized with America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service.
Factor lets you do you. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well-balanced. Because Factor's meals are chef-prepared and dietitian approved, you're going to love not only how Factor's meals taste, but also how they support your goals. And Factor is cheaper than takeout and dining out, so you can put that extra cash you save towards holiday shopping. There's no sacrificing quality for convenience with Factor. Weekly menus offer ways to treat yourself to a restaurant-like meal experience with gourmet plus dishes that feature premium proteins and seasonal sides like broccolini, leeks, and asparagus. How does truffle butter filet mignon or garlic herb roasted barramundi sound? Mouth-watering, right?
Very good. Stay on your A game with quality ingredients that you can trust and quality you can taste in every one of Factor's fresh, never frozen meals. Use your time more efficiently. It's very important during these dark months. Let Factor take shopping, prepping, cooking, and cleaning up off your daily list of things to do. Join Factor today by heading to factormeals.com/newsday50 and use our code newsday50 to get 50% off your first box and 20% off your next month. That is code newsday50 at factormeals.com/newsday50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
And this episode is sponsored by Manscaped. Fellas, the holiday season is here, and trust me, you don't want to be the guy showing up with tangled tinsel in your ornaments.
Okay.
Luckily, our friends at Manscaped have got you covered from head to, well, down the chimney with the Beard and Balls Bundle.
Hey, honey, I got you the Beard and Balls bundle. Merry Christmas.
Featuring the Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra and the Beard Hedger, this bundle will make sure you're a gift worth unwrapping. Get ready for those mistletoe moments and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code NEWSDAY at manscaped.com.
That's what you wanted, Beard and Balls. The Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is your balls' new best friend. It cuts through the North Pole of bushes with ease, and it's gentle on your most delicate Christmas ornaments. It's got 2 skin-safe blade heads for versatility, whether you're after a tidy trim or a smooth, festive finish. And it's got dual LED spotlights, so you can see everything clearly, even those tricky spots. This naughty boy actually needed this ad read today. This naughty boy it's waterproof, so you can trim in the shower while you cry right into that thing. You can avoid a blizzard of hair all over the bathroom floor. Its travel lock feature is ideal for holiday getaways, ensuring that your trimmer stays off in your luggage and ready for action when you are. And it's perfect for a quick trim before any holiday party. No one wants to find hair in their eggnog.
Disgusting. Then there's the Beard Hedger. Keep your beard in check, or Santa might think you're after his job.
And after his wife.
The Beard Hedger's titanium-coated T-blade will tackle your winter beard, whether you want to go full-on Santa or keep it neat for New Year's. It has a built-in zoom wheel with 20 different lengths, which means no more bags of assorted guards. It's waterproof too, perfect for trimming after a snowball fight or just freshening up in the shower. It's got 60 minutes of runtime with an LED charge indicator, because nothing's worse than a half-finished beard when your sleigh is ready to go. Join the 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped to keep sharp this holiday season. Get the Beard and Balls bundle today and slay your grooming routine. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code NEWSDAY at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code NEWSDAY at manscaped.com. Because Santa isn't the only one who needs his sack well-groomed this year.
Okay, that was nice. Nice little break. Back into the news. Thank you, Manscaped, for providing some levity at a crucial time, but unfortunately it is time to get back into the news with the Elon side of this whole shit show. Elon put a ton of money on the line with this election and utterly debased himself for a man who previously had nothing nice to say about him, and it seems to have paid off, though, to be clear, it's unknown how much Elon's ramshackle and legally dubious campaigning efforts really contributed to Trump's victory. In any case, Trump loves his sycophants, and Elon is now sycophant number 1. And the plan to have him run a new Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, will now apparently become reality. What this will mean in practice is basically what he did with Twitter, just decimating the headcount of government employees, reducing their power and oversight. It'll also probably mean privatizing a lot of the responsibilities currently handled by government agencies, which, yeah, not good, especially when combined with Project 2025's plan to basically ensure that the federal government is exclusively staffed by Trump loyalists instead of independent bureaucrats. Yeah, I feel I weep hardest. Well, I weep for a lot of people, but teachers. The Department of Education it's not going to be great.
There's a lot of departments of people who go in, do their job.
Tirelessly.
And you don't even think about them. And the reason you don't think about them is because they're actually doing their job. And they're good at it. And
this happened the first Trump administration when he was defunding all these government programs and everyone was from these programs were making accounts to be like, hey, by the way, the national parks aren't being staffed today.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
Anyway, Elon will also benefit greatly from SpaceX's government contracts, but that's not anything new. He currently does as well. Mm-hmm. But the fact that he's a major government contractor who's also under investigation by a bunch of government agencies for things that his various other companies have done will likely be a lot less of a problem for him. Poof. As will the increasing concerns that his security clearance makes him a national security liability. Poof. Where it gets a little weird, though, is the fact that Trump and the GOP are no fans of electric cars and the various subsidies promoting them, and they also deny the climate science behind why those electric cars should exist or why people buy them. Mm-hmm. And Elon runs the biggest electric car maker in the country. And this has always seemed like a huge contradiction. But The Verge lays out how this could still work out very nicely for Elon and Tesla. Mm-hmm. They point out that eliminating tax credits and incentives will make EVs more expensive and will hurt a lot of US automakers who have been gradually getting more and more into EVs. But
some Tesla investors say that while the new Trump administration is likely to be a negative for the auto industry, it could end up working out for Musk, who famously went all in for Trump, spending over $119 million to support his campaign. Tesla has the scale and scope that is unmatched in the EV industry, and this dynamic could give Musk and Tesla a clear competitive advantage in a non-EV subsidy environment, said Wedbush analyst Dan Ives, coupled by likely higher China tariffs that would continue to push away cheaper Chinese EV players, BYD, NIO, etc., from flooding the US market over the coming years. Trump is likely to attempt to roll back or weaken the Biden administration's new tailpipe emission standards, which would slash greenhouse gas emissions in half by 2032. This is likely what he's talking about when he rails against the EV mandate. Republicans have falsely portrayed the new standards as a ban on gas-powered cars. EVs would need to account for over half of new vehicle sales for automakers to meet those strict mandates.
If that happens, expect automakers to tap the brakes on EV production. That will likely result in Detroit's big three, Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis, becoming less competitive globally as the rest of the world continues to innovate and produce more EVs. It could also open the door for foreign automakers to come in and snap up the market. Tariffs could deter countries like China from flooding the US with cheap EVs, but that could be short-lived if China keeps making cheaper and cheaper EVs. Trump's plan to slap tariffs on a variety of imported goods, including foreign-made cars, could make many vehicles more expensive to buy. Shares in BMW, Mercedes-Benz, and Porsche all fell on Germany's stock market on the news of Trump's victory on Wednesday. Meanwhile, stock prices in the big three, as well as Tesla, surged in early trading.
So basically for Tesla, another Trump term could actually work out for them by disincentivizing other automakers from expanding their EV offerings, leaving Tesla with its much more established EV operation in a position where they can claw back a bunch of the market share that they've been gradually losing as other companies release their own electric cars. So that'll be great for Elon, but at this point it's pretty clear that it isn't just about the money for this guy. Even by tech billionaire standards, Elon's ego is colossal. And he really thinks he should be running the world. And he just got another big shot in the arm last night with his ego.
Yeah.
It is, we're reading levels of DEFCON that haven't been seen before, folks.
A new number, a new DEFCON.
Numbers nobody's even heard of before. Mm-hmm. And for the next few years, that'll become more and more true. His ego, he's going to want to run the world. He's going to want to run everything. He's going to think that everything he does is a success. But that is, of course, until he and Trump get sick of each other, which, knowing both of these guys, is pretty much inevitable. But until then, the most annoying man in the world is going to be somehow even more annoying. And that's the shit cherry on top of this shit sundae. Yeah, all that stuff that Elon was doing that seemed really fucking illegal, just poof.
Don't worry about it. We'll make it go away.
And by God, those Robovans are going to be a
Robovin on every corner. Yeah.
Just you wait and see, folks. The Robovans are coming. Now that all the regulations and all that pesky red tape will be out of the way and these things can get on our streets and start learning by killing, they will be everywhere, sooner rather than later.
Again, we wish we had literally anything optimistic to say about what just happened, but there's nothing. I'm sorry. All we can say is that as dire as things are, this is not the time to get complacent or give up. On the contrary, let this be a wake-up call and let this motivate you to get more active, more informed, and more vigilant. You are not alone. A little bit less than half the country is feeling at least somewhat like how you're feeling right now. And this is a time to connect with those people and organize. The Democratic Party didn't save us this time. And in hindsight, it's pretty clear they weren't gonna. But electoralism is just one crucial part of how change comes about. And there's gonna definitely be several key moments over the next few years when you're gonna need to get out on the street and make your voice heard, even if it seems futile.
Yeah. Get to know local resources, get to know your local communities. And communities that's how we're going to get through this. We definitely need to give a huge thanks to everyone who tuned into our election night stream. It was a very bad time, but a bad time together is better than a bad time alone. We'll keep attempting to hold people's feet to the fire and do what we can and be here for you.
The stream is still up if you missed it, although I can't fucking imagine
why you would want
to relive that. It was not a good time. We had some good guests on,
it was
some
fun
good conversations, but it was a bad time.
We didn't have exactly, well, we did sort of have the goofification of America when I noticed that Saddam Hussein was hiding within the United States. But I think the highlight was definitely when we interviewed that squirrel that died posthumously.
We did interview the ghost of Peanut.
Yeah, so that was fun.
Exclusively. So
first and only people to interview that squirrel. The squirrel that changed the election.
Also, Trump showed up on the stream for a little bit.
Yes, he did.
Live from Mar-a-Lago.
You know what? Just like the video. Not going to tell you to watch the videos.
It's all old news.
It's pointless.
Yeah.
But if
the future begins now.
If you want to help with our sanity, please leave a like, leave a positive comment. Don't get fucking mean down there. Don't do the finger pointing. There's going to be plenty of that going around on the news.
Keep your fingers in your pocket.
Yeah, and just try to make it a slightly more optimistic place down there in the comments. But make sure you like the video. Make sure you're subscribed. And
even if you didn't like the video.
We'll see you very soon for something else. Bye.
Bye.